some Broncos news. It's not necessarily Broncos news, but could have been Broncos news. Nick is already in the chat. He says, low-key bummed about Trey. That's Trey Lance he's speaking of. Even though who knows if we were ever in on it. And let's get straight into it. You bring us right into the conversation, Nick. Trey Lance traded for a 4th-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys from the San Francisco 49ers. I'm with you, Nick. I think the Broncos should have been in on it, me personally. But, Zach, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think they absolutely should have been in on it. I keep pounding the drum. Russell Wilson is not a surefire thing at quarterback. He is the starter for 2023. We know that. Is he the starter for 2024? We don't know that. And if the answer to that question is no, the Broncos are going to need a cheap solution at the position. They also might not love the surroundings to throw a highly drafted quarterback into it. They might not be drafting high this year. So what checks the boxes of being cheap yet being high upside could be a potential long-term answer replacement for Russell Wilson if that blows up this season. Trey Lance is perfect for that. The thing is, I think what he's shown is frankly promising. It didn't work out in San Francisco, and I think it's hard for people to square that because it's like Kyle Shanahan's the quarterback whisperer. What Kyle Shanahan is, Shane Carter, our favorite Cowboys analyst, is in the chat. I'm curious what he thinks about all this. I think people should be more willing to give Trey Lance the benefit of the doubt. Kyle Shanahan has demonstrated time and time again what he wants out of his quarterbacks are the point and shoot guys. It's been reported wide and far that who he initially traded up for was Mac Jones, not Trey Lance, who much closer fits the archetype of what Kyle Shanahan wants from his quarterbacks. Trey Lance is the furthest thing from a point and shoot quarterback. He has not played much football. That West Coast scheme is heavy in verbiage, is not something he's probably ready for. And the 49ers are trying to win a Super Bowl this season. Trey Lance doesn't support that desire. He needs time to develop. He needs a long runway. I think he could still be like, let's not get it wrong. This is a rough start to his career. I feel much more confident that Trey Lance could become a solid NFL starting quarterback than like Zach Wilson. I think those two quarterbacks are in different galaxies right now. Trey Lance just needs to play more football, which should happen in Denver because Peyton could have used him like Taysom Hill for a year or two and gotten him, I don't know, developed some. I think that would have been a fun landing spot. Rooting for him hard in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm finding it quite convenient, Zach, that all these former Drew Lock supporters. I mean, I'm on Twitter,
For
right?
real.
I'm looking around. I all these guys saying, no, a 4th is too high. I'm looking at you like you guys were stopping trades for Drew Lock when we had like doubled the amount of starts, tripled the amount of starts. Trey Lance has started 4 games, Zach, to your point. To pretend like we know what Trey Lance is at this point after 4 career starts to me is so silly. An FBS quarterback who didn't get his last year of play, COVID year. He came out, his last year of play we saw was as a sophomore in FBS. And then an injury in the pros that took him out for a year. To act like we don't know what this guy is, what I will say about this, like it almost feels, Zach, to me like the word is out on him. Something's out on him for the price to be this low because it just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I think we see these draft guys drop in value pretty quickly. And he is, I think, scary because he's played so little football. Like he does need a good bit of time to develop. Yeah, I don't get the bashing of the guy. Saying he played 4 games, like the sample size is pretty much even smaller than that. One of those 4 games happened in some of the worst weather conditions we've seen of like the past 5 years. I think of that Bills Patriots game from like 2 years ago in a blizzard, like that, and crazy wind conditions. That's in the mix too. But one of the worst weather conditions of like the last 5 years is one of those 4 starts. 2 of them come as a rookie, and he was good in those. Go back and watch that Texans game. Like that's good rookie quarterback play. I think. I don't know. The book's not out on him yet. Also, to like bring up the Drew Lock comparison, Drew Lock played 4 years in a pass-heavy option against SEC defenses in college. The thing with him is he just was plateaued in terms of his development. Trey Lance hasn't played enough football. again, it's going to be hard for a guy that has played that little quarterback to succeed as a quarterback in the NFL. I would rather have a guy who doesn't have the bad habits than a guy who has the bad habits. And Trey Lance doesn't have the bad habits yet. He's like Anthony Richardson-esque to me. I would have happily taken a gamble.
So, okay, so cool. So the answer is yes, you would have made that trade. Would you have traded a third for Trey Lance just to up that end?
I don't think so. I don't think so because I do think the odds of it working out are pretty slim. I think what you're looking at next season for the Broncos, if you do end up blowing it up, I would have matched the Cowboys fourth, and the Broncos fourth should be more appealing than the Dallas Cowboys fourth because the Cowboys are very legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year. Wouldn't have gone up to a 3. That's too rich for my blood. The Broncos need cheap young talent to start supplementing this roster, and you find that day 1, day 2 of the draft.
Yeah.